I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. What began in a garden ends in the same. Why? Because sowing and reaping, or resurrection, relates to every person's beginning and end, regardless of color, culture, language, or even religious belief. God is not bound by our religious labels, opinions, or lack of understanding. Dear brother and sister, understand that the Lord's ministry, death, and resurrection did not introduce something new, but simply brought to light what has been true from the foundation of the world. The resurrection of the dead has been with us since the first day of creation, continuing up to this present time. Jesus did not say he makes all new things, but all things new. Every spring, we are reminded of this wonderful truth. 7 completes the cycle of sowing and reaping. And having sown the seed on the first 6 days of creation, God rested. And God's purpose? Life. For he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. God did not introduce death into the world so death would prevail. That's why Paul declares that the last enemy to be destroyed is death. Death is not God's enemy, it is ours, and only because we fail to recognize its purpose and cling to this human form. If death is destroyed, then what is left but life? And so it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. If Adam was the first man, he was the beginning. If Christ was the last Adam, then he was the end. This makes perfect sense in light of the threefold principle of resurrection. First, living and death is portrayed by the first man, Adam, then life by the last Adam. The process is complete in the 2 Adams. 3 stages in 2 Adams. That's 5. 5 is grace. Resurrection is a work of grace. Didn't Christ say that he was the beginning and the end? He did. How can that be if Adam was the beginning? Christ said, I am the light of the world. Christ said, I am the resurrection. Christ said, before Abraham was, I am. On the first day of creation, God said, let there be light, and there was light. What did Jesus say? I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. Friend, the light of life is Christ, the resurrection life in all things, the true light, giving light to every person coming into this world. The threefold process through which we pass is not some random circumstance nor freakish accident perpetrated by a so-called fallen angel. Every soul has a purpose, and every soul belongs to the Father. The darkness and the light are both alike to God. Christ Jesus is the last Adam, and through his obedience to the Father, he brought to light the purpose of resurrection in the soul of every person, revealing that this process always ends in life. For just as every person is represented by the first man, Adam, so every person is represented by the last Adam, Christ. As surely as our first death is reflected in the first man, Adam, so our second death is reflected in the last Adam, Christ. If we fail to yield up the self in this life, we will when our life here ends, for it is formed by our experience with the flesh. As for the second death, it is mentioned 4 times in the book of Revelation, also called the lake of fire. Tradition would have us think that this is God's torture chamber, a place of horrendous suffering that cannot be explained by words. But the simple truth is that our first death is the formation of the self, while our second death is the sacrifice of the self. This is why Paul called it the message of the cross. Cross typifying the Lord's declaration that we should lose our lives for his sake. Take a look at Revelation 21:8, and you see a very good description of the self. The Lord was crucified on a tree, reflecting the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the law of God, the ministry of death and condemnation. His death personified the self-sacrifice necessary to change the letter of the law into the righteousness that comes by the Spirit in faith. Self-sacrifice has always been the message of the gospel. And she saw two angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. Where had the body of Jesus lain? On the mercy seat, between two angels, one at the head and the other at the feet, typifying the first man Adam and the last Adam, the natural and the spiritual. And beneath the mercy seat in the Ark of the Covenant, the manna, Aaron's rod that budded, and the tablets of the covenant. 3. Complete witness. Christ is the true manna, the bread coming down from heaven. And in Aaron's rod, we see him as the resurrection, while in the tablets as the spiritual fulfillment and essence of the law and the prophets. I will close with the following. Therefore, when he came into the world, he said, "Sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but a body you have prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin you had no pleasure. That I said, Behold, I have come. In the volume of the book it is written of me, to do your will, O God." Previously saying sacrifice and offering, burnt offerings, and offerings for sin you did not desire, nor had pleasure in them, which are offered according to the law, then he said, "Behold, I have come to do your will, O God." He takes away the first, that he may establish the second. By that will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all.